All right, good morning. Thank you for tuning in. May 1st, happy Friday. So excited to again teach. Today's class is a Hatha 2 class, and I do have some class announcements. So Sunday, I'll be having my first Zoom class, and that'll be from 10 to 11 Eastern Time. And if you'd like to take the class, you'll have to go to my website, johnwittyoga.com, and you can register for that class, and then you'll have a link or a button email within the email that you'll receive, and that's how you can get into the class on Sunday. And it's a great format if you're unfamiliar with Zoom, because the platform provides me an opportunity to see you practice, so I can observe you, I can adapt it, I can make it more progressive. It's interactive, so at the end of class I'll be available for questions, or we can just chat a bit. And all these classes, if you did not know, are on my YouTube channel, so you can subscribe, and then you'd always get updates as far as when we're posting these classes. So if you can never take the class live, know that that's always available. And an update on the masks that we're making. So we sent out 50 masks to San Francisco to a mental health clinic, and we're in the process of making 100 more masks. All the proceeds, or not all the proceeds, but 10% of the proceeds to all my classes go towards making these masks. So if you'd like to make a donation, you can Venmo me or PayPal me at John Witt Yoga. If you have Chase, there's a transferring system, and it's Zelle, and that's really easy and convenient too if you'd like to make a donation. We really greatly appreciate all the donations because it helps support us, and by supporting me, I can really help more people, and that's really my objective as far as teaching yoga. I really want to help more people, and it's always been my objective for the last 20 years. So with this class, it's a Hatha 2 class. So again, some things you may not be able to do. Probably the best thing is that you want to do more, or you want to develop more. That's really, you have that, you can really expand your practice. So you'll need a wall at some point. I have an external weight today. It's a sandbag. It's about 8 pounds. You don't need that, but if you have a difficult time squatting, that can really help, and squatting will really help you get into a deeper place in practice. So how we're going to start is in an all-four position. So I'm going to come onto my hands and my knees. So my hands are just underneath my shoulders, and I'm just going to be moving the weight around. So just kind of getting the shoulders more over the hands, the wrist. And if you're not there yet, it's just something that will the tissues need to adapt to the pressure and the load. And if you're more forward, great. But you really want to stretch out the wrist more, especially if you want to get into like handstanding or doing crow or any of these positions. So I really do a lot of prep work for my hands. And I go through phases. So sometimes I may not do a lot, but it is quite helpful. So come back into the middle and just push through the hands and round the spine into a cat stretch. You can look forward, you can look up, you can back bend. You can exhale, you can round the spine, you can round your back. We'll back bend again, we'll lift the chin, we'll lift the chest, and we'll exhale, we'll round the spine. So keep this rounding of the back, and stay in all fours, of course, if you need to, but if you can, just lift the knees a little bit off the floor and really push strong through the hands. So a lot of times when people can't necessarily balance in a pose, they're not pushing enough, right? So you really want to push the floor away from you quite intensely, and then you'll feel your shoulders engaging, your serratus engaging, and this will really help you with like transitioning and like low push-ups. Like a lot of again, some people, they just really don't push enough. So I could get higher if I wanted to, but you don't have to get that high, right? So just bring your knees down, and then you're going to keep your shoulder over your hand. You don't need this block, but you want to be at a 90-degree angle for these. You're going to lift the heels of your hands up off the floor, and then lower, and then lift, and lower, and lift, and lower, and lift, and lower. more. And let's say you're done, just go back to the side to side motion. So start with a number that is easy for you, but repeat it throughout the day. Say it's 5, do it a few times during the day, and then as you do that, then you can get to 10, you can get to 20, depending on what I'm doing. I'll do anywhere from 10, to a really high number, right? 30, 40, 50, right? But the easier it is if my hands are closer to my knees. If I do something like this is still good, but over time you can really extend it where it's longer, right? And then just come back in the middle, and what you're going to do is interlace the fingers and push the hands around the spine. So my shoulders are rotated in, they'll help with rotating the out. So back bend, lift the chin, lift the chest. Push through the hands, round through the spine, round through the back. And then come back into the middle. Turn the hands forward, come up into a plank pose. So lift the knees up off the floor, grip the floor, push through the hands. Again, get your shoulders to support you. Use your hands. So it's a really concentrated, it's not to get like tense or rigid, but the more muscular strength you have in these positions, the better off you'll be. So, a big part of yoga is relaxing, but a big part to get yourself to be more developed is the integration and the strength. So pull back up into a down dog. Think that I'm pulling your shoulders forward. Think that I'm pulling your hips back in space. You could have a big bend in the knees. Pull back through the hips. Think the arms are lifting up and away from the floor. Right? And then bring yourself forward into a plank. And then lower yourself very slow. So keep pushing into the floor. Try. Not that you're trying to make it difficult, but keep pushing. And then bring yourself down. Bring your arms into a W position, so 90-degree angle. Have the head down. Lift the arms up and back. So engage in the shoulders. Make your hands into fists. And work pretty hard here in lifting the arms up and out, Again, if it's just a little off the floor, that's a good start. But over time, you'll be able to lift the arms more. You'll be able to expose the shoulders better. And then bring your arms down. Come up into a Sphinx pose. And just bend the knees so that the feet, if you can, are over your knees. Now you want to use your glutes and you want to use your abdomen to some degree when you're back bending. Especially in these classical lines. You can look over the left shoulder. Big lift in the collarbone. Look over the right. And then bring yourself forward, head forward. And then just come down all the way, have the hands underneath you. So we're going to do a few push-ups, kind of cobra push-ups. Not a lot, but just a few, and that'll help you in getting stronger and getting you to lift yourself up. So curl up into a low cobra, but use your back. Bring yourself forward, bring yourself down, bring yourself up. All right, use your hands. You should feel, your triceps. Bring yourself forward, bring yourself down, curl up. And this could be more, if you wanted it. So shoulders are rotated out, tailbone's moving down, pubic bone's lifting up, and then bring yourself forward, bring yourself all the way down. Have the hands just underneath the shoulders, tuck the toes, lift straight up into a plank, and go back up into a down dog. So in a down dog, I'm just going to be moving around. If I can, I'm going to try to eventually twist in my down dog. So I could reach for my right thigh with my left hand. I could reach for my calf muscle. Right? Maybe just touching, but you're turning, which is a good start. Then bring the left hand down and then reach for the left thigh with the right hand or the calf muscle. Still kind of early if you haven't warmed up a lot. So if you haven't really warmed up yet, makes sense not to go further. But over time, of course, we are. You're expanding your boundaries. And then you're going to bring your right hand down. So just keep pedaling it out. A long stance, really, really good for the upper body if you didn't know. A shorter stance is more directed towards exposing the hamstrings. So we'll bend the knees, and you could walk or jump forward to the top. Let's just walk forward halfway, and then walk the hands back. Take the hands to the left. Take the hands to the right. Right, bring the hands all the way forward. Walk the feet forward, and you're in a forward bend. So you could be using your blocks. I'm just gonna squat down all the way. So in a deep squat, it is not bad at all to turn the feet out when you squat, like in these low squats. Might actually help you more with your hips. It's definitely easier to balance. And then as that gets easier, you can definitely straighten the feet out, which is more internal rotation. Really depends on what your thighs do in space for positions, right? Fold all the way forward into a forward fold. Right? And then as you fold forward into a forward bend, step the left foot back into a lunge. Make yourself nice and strong in the front of your body. Take your right arm up. So turn through the upper body, turn through the waist. I'm going to turn through my right arm. I'm rotating my shoulder out. I'm going to turn it in. I'm going to turn it out. I'm going to bring the right hand down. I'm going to step the left foot all the way forward and then step the right foot back. So I'm just making my stance longer, making it wider. I've said this before, like if I'm not perfectly lined up, it's really the beginning of doing the splits. So that's what we're working towards. You can take the left arm up to the ceiling. You can turn the thumb back. Right, so I'm externally rotating, I'm rotating in. I'm gonna rotate it back out. And then I'm gonna rotate it back in. Right, then bring the left hand down and step the right foot forward. So you go, I'm moving the weight forward and back into my hands and my feet. And this forward motion is really the, part of, inverting eventually up into a handstand, right? So bring the hands back down and go back into a down dog. So pull back through the hips, pull back through the thighs, right? And then just come back down onto the knees. And when you come back down on the knees, I'm going to keep my toes tucked. I'm going to sit back onto my feet if I can. And you could fill the gap between your hips and your heels. You could sit on a block, right? A lot of different ways you could do this. So I'm going to interlace the fingers. I'm going to press the hands forward. I'm going to take the arms up into an overhead position. So, just see if you're in a position like I am, do you lean to one side? It's common. It's not wrong, but it's a pattern, and you can make it better by correcting yourself, self-correcting yourself. And you can bring the hands forward. You can bring them down, right? And then we're going to bring the hands down. So I've been doing pike push-ups, but pike push-ups might be too difficult. So I'll do a couple in down dog. It's a little bit easier. And then we'll try the pike push-ups. I'll give you some cues for that. So when I'm pushing through my hands and I'm prepping to come up, I'm rotating the shoulders out. My index fingers are straight forward. And then I'm going to tuck the toes and lift up. So again, if you're in a down dog, so a down dog push-up is a lot easier. It's something that you'll maybe need to do. So if I'm doing negatives, I'm going to come forward and then come down. It's really heavy on the front of the shoulder. So if you got something going on in your shoulder, maybe you don't do this, right? Go up into a down dog, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the pike push-ups, which is a lot like handstand push-ups. So I'm hugging in, and then I'm going to come forward. I'm going to press back. Right, this whole time I'm pushing, never relaxing, pushing back. Right, the down dog's a lot easier, so you'll notice that this will really help with down dog. So we're going to do 2 more if we can. You're going to lower, push back. And I've said this before, you got something going on and it's like, that it's not good. I wouldn't just keep going. That's most likely not going to get better. It will get better if you take good care of it and you do the right things, right? And then walk the feet forward to the middle of the mat. Walk the hands back towards the feet. Again, so it's like if I'm using this external weight, and it could be a backpack full of some weight, right? But if I'm holding, it will be a lot easier to squat. And those of you that have a good squat, a good thing to work towards is eventually getting more of the elbows down or the forearms down, which will really help open up your back. So it could be here and upright, but like I said, when you're low in these types of positions, it's like intermediate to advanced, like forward bends, like taking your leg over your shoulder, taking your leg over your head. This is very different because it's not as extreme, but it's moving in that direction for practice, right? And then you could lose that, and then just come into a forward fold, come all the way forward into a forward bend, and then in a forward bend, you're gonna roll yourself up into a standing position. So you roll yourself up, and then as you roll up, we're standing, right? Take the feet out into a wide stance, big stance between the feet, and turn the right foot out to the right. Take the arms out wide, and just bend the right knee, and basic pose, but like eventually, like I've been saying, you'll be able to make these poses longer, and that's what I'm gonna get you into, is like more loading the hips in like a Cossack stretch. So lift the thighs up and out, extend up through the top of the head, right? And bring yourself back up. Turn the right foot in, turn the left foot out, take the arms out. You know, really engage in getting the thighs to move away from one another. And you know, you don't have to sit incredibly low, but if you are wanting to do more, you get to play with that edge of going lower, right, in these positions, but as you get lower, you want to make the stance longer. So you're getting really longer in stance, right? And bring yourself back up. Turn the left foot in and just take the feet a little bit wider. Use a chair, use a wall. Be nice and tall and upright. Again, stretch your boundaries, but you still want to be able to move. You can either squeeze the legs together, or you can lift the thighs up and out, you know, which will help you in getting yourself to move out in space. So take a couple deep breaths. Your hands could be in fists. So I'm either lifting my legs literally towards my hands, like I'm trying to lift up, or I'm squeezing in. Both will really help you. Bring the arms down and then bring the hands down. And with the hands down, you can bring more weight into the hands, and then gradually take the legs out into a wider position. Right? Take 3 deep breaths, breathe in, breathe out. And when you're really doing progressive work, it's kind of frowned upon in yoga to breathe through the mouth, but that's probably what you'll need to do. Like if it's like really intense, nothing wrong with doing that. And then as it gets easier and more developed, then the breathing can be more refined, you know. But you're in a class, or you're in the comfort of your home, you could be breathing heavily like a dog, right? We're gonna bring the feet in a little bit closer, and then we're gonna bring yourself back up, and you're gonna step your feet back together. So when you get into like deep, like active poses, you might be concerned with your knees. So just have your hands on your knees and just circle the knees around. And your knees out of alignment, which happens when you run, happens when you go upstairs, downstairs. So these are really good. You can circle around. Obviously you don't want to go beyond, say you have something pre-existing, make the circle really small. As it gets easier, you can make it bigger. You can do it one leg at a time, which is really what you're doing when you're walking, right, or running. And then bring yourself back up. When you come back up, you're gonna take the feet out nice and wide. And with the feet out wide, I'm gonna turn. So whichever your strong leg is most likely you'll be inclined to go to, right? Skateboarding, surfing, stuff like that. You're jumping off a curb. So my left leg is stronger. I'm gonna turn my right foot out. I'm gonna go to my right first. So I'm gonna sit relatively low if I can. Now if I want to focus more on the hamstring, my left foot, the back foot is turned up, right? Drive through the right foot, sit into the left, right? Use your hands or your chair, And again, you're working through a bigger range of motion, which can be really, challenging, but it shouldn't hurt, right? I could elevate the heel, right? And if you ever, needed help with that, just set up a towel or a blanket for the heels of the feet. And then it's just, okay, well then you just make it lower as you do this. Right? Try to use your legs more as you're transitioning. Right? Bring yourself up. And then come back into to the top of your mat. You can step your left foot forward, so make it shorter to transition, of course, right? Inhale, take the arms up overhead. Fold forward into a forward fold. Bring the hands down. Step the left foot back into a lunge. And with the left foot back, just gonna use a block for my back leg. So the block is just above the knee. So, and if I'm low, and say you're not as low as I am, the block could be higher, right? But I'm just gonna be moving more weight into the block to enhance more of the extension of the hip, because that's, a big part of the splits. So if you're, hey, I want to be off the block, you can come off the block, right? It's just a good way to help expose more of those tissues. So come down, and this low position, I say this all the time, this low position is most likely going to be easier for you. So for a long time, you can just be here. You'll notice me moving. You could be moving the whole time, right? Hang out in places that are easy if you need to, and then eventually hang out in places that are, more challenging for yourself. So come up onto the thigh if you can, and when you come up, you're more in an extension or going up. You don't have to be going back in space. You certainly can, right? But you could be leaning forward. I'm driving through my feet, and that's why my back knee doesn't hurt at all. Like, you're using your back foot, shouldn't hurt the back knee. Obviously we can pat it if that's happening, right? Then bring yourself down. When you bring yourself down, I'm going to be on the outside of my right foot. So I'm going to turn a little bit just so that you can see that. So I'm kind of like pigeon. I'm pushing through the outside of the foot. And for this side, for me on my right side, I really don't need this a whole lot, but you may. So that's why I'm doing it. So moving the weight around. My left side's very different. My left side needs something like this, all right? And then bring your right foot to be flat again, and then now come low, right, if you can. Now, and as this gets easier, what we can do is elevate the right foot on something higher, and then that'll press the leg back further. All right, so take a few deep breaths here. Breathe in, breathe out. All right? And then what you could do is come up, and then when you come up, you're going to reach back for the right foot, the left foot with the right hand. So I'm no longer on the knee, I'm on my femur, and as you get the leg up like you are, it should be a lot easier on the knee. So you're really on the thigh bone as opposed to the patella. You're on the attachment of the patella, but not on the kneecap, right? And then you can release that. And then when you release that, you may need some blocks for this. I'm going to sit back with my hips. So when I sit back, blocks can be really helpful. So I'm going to go back, and then, I could be upright. But what we're going to do is like a series. I'm going to try to take my right foot up off the floor. So I'm going to pull it up and in. And this is really the beginning of an L sit. You could bring it down. You could bring it up. You could bring it down. So now let's say that's difficult. Take the hands back further, and then, but if it's easy, take the hands more forward and then lift it up. Now the foot could be pointed or flexed, depending on what you are looking for. Again, as I get closer to the foot, it's gonna be more difficult to take up, and then you can bring it down. Now take the hands on the outside of the right ankle and get lower, but still think you're picking your leg up. Like, actively lift the leg to the face, to the chest. And this is like, again, like the splits. And then come forward back into a low lunge. And in a low lunge, take the back knee off the floor. Right, take the right arm up to the ceiling. Right, think I'm pulling your hips back in space. Turn, right, the right shoulder back, right? So rotate the shoulder back, and this is really just to help with the integration. Bring the right hand down and then step the left foot all the way forward. So you're in a forward fold. Step the right foot back into a lunge. Get really long, get really wide. Like I did earlier, I put the block just above my right knee, so I'm on my thigh. And then I'm adding weight into the back leg, but I'm also pushing my leg into the block. Like I'm not just sitting in the pose. Again, that has its place at times, but you want to have like usable flexibility, if you will. Like, you should be able to eventually do these poses almost even cold. Like, being warm is good initially, but you should be able to do just about any pose, even if you're cold, again, down the road, right? So I'm gonna take the back knee up off the floor, and move the block out, right? And then I'm gonna, that's if I like it because then you're more stable. That's why I took the block out. So bring yourself up. As you bring yourself up, lift from the pubic bone. Feel your butt from time to time because you want those muscles to be working. And then as you're up, right, you're really getting more and more of a front body, which is going to get, more and more difficult as we age. So you really want the front of your body to stay, upright. Right, bring the hands down, and then with the hands down, be on the outside of the left foot. And, push to the outside of the foot so that you're not just falling into it. And again, like explore where you need the leverage or where it's like, I can't do this. But this is, again, the beginning of like kind of pigeon where it's not super loaded, and it'll help you with that pose, right? So then bring the foot flat, and then with the left foot flat, get lower if you can. And like I said, if it's really difficult, you could be breathing really, really heavily, and that's perfectly fine. And then as it gets easier, then we refine the breathing. But you could come down and up. That's something that I would do. So if it was really difficult for me, I'd come down, and then when I needed to, I'd come up. It's just like, if you were underwater, you would come up when you need air, right? So come up onto your hands. When you come up onto your hands, you could use blocks. So I'm going to use the blocks. Have it close, just to kind of see, if it's close to the knee. Right? It does make it kind of in between. It's kind of the easy way, but hands could be further back. And you'll see which leg is stronger in terms of the hips, which foot you can take back up off the floor. So again, if you want to get really more into this, it's lower, and you're really trying to pull up and in, right? But when you do this, like to the extreme, like maybe 1, 2, 3, 5 times, something like that, then you could go back to like an easy position and top it off with like some reps, like 5, 10 times, and then the leg will lift up more. The easier stuff will help the more advanced stuff. The more advanced stuff will make the easy stuff, that much more complete. So come back to sitting back now, and then take the right hand on the outside of the left leg. So you're forward and you're down, but again, I'm pushing down through my right foot, and I'm lifting through my left leg. And that's making a big difference in getting me to, support myself here and getting myself to come more forward. Now you could hold the foot, you could pull on the foot, which is, obviously a big part of the calf muscle and the hamstring, and then bring the right hand down and then come back into that lunge, and then take the left arm up to the ceiling. So turn the thumb back, open through the shoulder, pull the hips back in space, and then bring the left hand down, and then step the right foot forward, and then with the right foot forward, roll yourself up to standing. As you roll up to standing, we're just in a standing position. So I'm gonna, like I did about the knees, you could keep doing that. So But just before we do that, just take the left arm out to the left and reach the right arm for the left, but try to get the hands to match and look straight forward. So there's a big rotation in the upper body. And then bring the right arm out to the right, and then try to get your left hand to match your right hand. It's all like, deep work of the shoulders and back. This will really help with back pain. I'm looking straight forward, trying to get the hands together. Keep doing the side that's difficult. For me, it's more difficult for me to go to my left in this. Typically, it's more the right. But for this, probably because I'm right-handed, my right shoulder is a little bit tighter for this. And then come back to center. So just take the arms forward, bend the knees, and train the legs. Find angles, again, that you're weak on. Like, not bad to sit low, right? Has its place. You could bring the hands down. You could bring the knees forward and down, and then pull them up. Bring them forward. Lift them up. Bring them forward if you can. And then back up. Now just lift a little bit off the heels. And then bring yourself back up. So again, if I could use a wall and do some wall sits and stuff like that, that's really good. I'm gonna do some like sissy squats, like back bending. And this will help with like the hips. That's why I'm doing it for this series, but very good for the spine. So I'm coming up on the toes a bit. It's different if I keep my feet flat, trains a different part of the legs. It's much more heavy in the back. So it's kind of early for a lot of people. So I'm gonna reach back. I'm not concerned with grabbing my foot, right? But it can be available. I can look to it. Again, you're experiencing pain. Don't go super low with that. And then just to turn, I'm just doing a few of these or a couple of these, but bring the knees, this is a lot like camel, so it's very close in nature. So I'm engaging the tailbone down, I'm moving the hips forward. It could be a chair, reach for a chair, but you want to stay strong to support the range of motion as opposed to just going back, which can really ruin you, right? So come down onto your hands, engage through the hands, round through the back, step back into a plank, right? If I can, use a block so you're really honest, spin the heels to the right, take the left arm up to the ceiling. So you can open through the chest, open through the shoulders, keep the weight in the front of the hand. In all honesty, if I'm holding this for whatever long is to you, right? You probably want to move the weight around. And that's what you would do to, hold a longer handstand. It's a very easy way of doing that. Or easier, bring the left hand down, move the block to the opposite side, spin the heels to the left, take the right arm up to the ceiling. And just terms of structure, which side is it more difficult to turn to is really what you need, in terms of balance. That's the beauty of yoga is there's asymmetrical poses. You can really develop the side that's lacking space, right? Or that needs more strength. Bring the right hand down and then move the block out of the way and go back up into a down dog so you can pull back. So as you pull back with the hips, right? Now we're going to go back to reaching for the thigh, or reaching for the foot. So reach back with the left hand for the right thigh or the foot, and then you can lift the hips up. So if I keep weight in my left foot, I won't fall over. I could hold this however long I want to. So I'm pulling back through the hips, pushing through the front of my right hand. I'm going to bring my left hand back, and then I'm going to bring my right hand for my left foot. I'm going to sit the hips back, bringing weight into the right foot. It's great with the knees bent. So if I was doing this for a long time and I was really having a hard time with it, I certainly would bend the knees. But turn through the upper body, right? Use obviously a more internal strength. And then bring your right hand back, and the right hand back. Walk the feet forward, middle of the mat. Walk the hands back towards the feet. So we're gonna roll back up, come back up. Just take a couple deep breaths. See where the weight sits in the feet. So you're using your feet, not just standing. You know, you want the strength of your feet to support your ankles, to support your knees. Again, everybody has tendencies, so you gotta kind of know the tendencies, and then everybody would stand possibly a little bit differently. So take the turn laterally again, take the feet up nice and wide. Use a chair again. We're gonna go back into that Cossack stretch, Skandasana and yoga. So you can turn the feet out. Really depends on how long your legs are, your limbs are. So again, shift the weight, just move the weight around. Maybe that's all you're doing. It's like a really long horse stance. And then I can sit into my right side. I could turn to the foot, right? Keep yourself up. Again, use a chair or the floor. Bring yourself back up, bring into the left foot. You know, even here, I can think of lifting my right leg up in space, and that'll help broaden the hips. Push to the left foot, bring it into the right. Again, it hurts your knee. I'd rehab the knee before I ever got into stuff like this. So bring yourself up, bring it to the left. Right, nice and tall, nice and upright. And then bring yourself back up, and then go to the right, and we're gonna practice sitting. So use your hands behind you. If you have the strength, you know, make it longer, sit yourself back down. And then many ways we could position the leg. I'm gonna bring it in, kind of like more of like a hurdler stretch, but just to give you a different way, because I did it this way last time, I think. I'm gonna turn my right foot in, be more like in Virasana. And then I'm gonna come forward as much as I can with my back straight, and then it's more hamstring related. You could certainly get lower by rounding, but I think it's very good to be, you know, more specific for the hamstring, because it's kind of like a part that might be missing for you. You could hold the foot and get lower. I'm trying to, again, to lift the leg into the upper body. So forward, driving through the right leg. And then go back to having the foot flat or on the inside. And then you may have to adjust the stance, because we're gonna load up the right leg. Try, you know, push strong through the right foot. Lift yourself back up. Go to the left, right? Get really wide through the thighs, and all these different stages might be what you need to be working on. You know, it's not so much like keeping up. So when you're taking a really fast class, it's what I keep in the back of my head is what I really need to work on. So I can bring the leg forward and in, like we did last week, if you took last week's class. But I could also bring it into, it's like Kranchasana, I believe. I can pull the skin back. I can come forward. As I come forward, I'm trying to lift my right leg into my chest. And, you know, again, it takes a lot of internal strength to really be sound and forward bending. So I could grab the foot, I could, you know, bind in some way. But I'm trying to get the weight into my left hip. For me, this is really heavy on internal rotation, so I really struggle in that on my left side. So that's why I may want to spend more time on this in this way, because this is what I really need. So if I bring the left leg back and I'm here, this is what I'm talking about, is you'll get more of an internal rotation through here, and one hip might be needing of that, right? So elevate the left knee, turn the foot out as much as you need to, right? And it's not so much it's all quality. Don't think about, like, you know, getting up, right? If you needed that weight, you could use that sandbag or book. So push strong through the left foot, bring yourself back up, take your feet out. We're gonna go to the right, push strong through the right foot, bring yourself back up. go to the left. Right, and again, you start with a low weight if you really want to load it, and then you gradually build it up to a bigger weight or greater weight. So I'm going to do some things at the wall. Bring your feet back in, stand for a couple of breaths. So I'm going to pull my mat to the wall. So, and I've said this before, is, in terms of alignment for a handstand, walking to the wall is really great. So let's say you can't walk up the wall at all. Practice walking back and walking forward. It's really the same thing. So transferring the weight to get my legs back up. And when you go to the wall, you don't have to be incredibly close to the wall. Of course, you can do that eventually, but you want your toes at the wall and nothing else. So you don't want to be swaying. You want to keep a really clean line, right? So bring your hands back underneath you and walk the feet up. And then when I walk the feet up, I'm going to walk back with my hands. So I'm going to keep moving my feet up, right, to get up. And all this time I'm pushing really as much as I can. And as you push as strong as you can and you keep your ribs in, so it's really hard, I find, because I do a lot of handstands, it's more difficult to balance in the morning. So if I don't have a lot of time in the afternoon or the evening, I may just do more wall work to really get more conditioned. And then, then I don't have to. And maybe you're coming out already, right? I'm guessing this is probably about 40 seconds, which is a good start. But then eventually it can be a minute. Now, when I come out, I'm going to lean to my one hand, lean to my opposite, keep walking, keep walking, keep walking, keep walking, and then bring myself down. So if that was really hard for you, do it again, do it again later, make the gaps bigger. If you're practicing at home, it could be like 2 minutes or 5 minutes of a rest in between. That's how long it might need for you to kind of like recover and be able to do it really well. And then of course you can shorten the gaps and then you're up and you're balancing for a number of minutes, right? So I'm going to fold my mat up. And then as I fold my mat up, I'm going to be back in this type of, because I want to support my knee. So when you go back up against the wall, very difficult for you. You may want to be away from the wall. If I have my foot on a piece of furniture, much easier to do. And then I'm going to step back with my step forward with my right foot. So if you have a hard time bringing the foot forward, use your blocks, because you might be like, I can't get my foot forward. Use your blocks and then you can get it forward. But you could be down, right? You could be up. Moving around, like say you're like, I'm gonna hold this for 2 minutes. You probably have to move around, to get there initially. And then eventually the minute or 2 minutes that you're in it could be in, a more, what you lack in or where you're deficient in. So to come up is really probably gonna be more difficult for you. So I'm sitting back and my hips are back and, I'm pushing my right foot into the floor. I'm getting myself to be upright. You could have elbows at the wall or shoulders at the wall. You could be in an elbow hold, but still think of your handstand. Like keep your front body engaged, and that'll help with the development of the shoulders. And then you can bring the arms down, and then go back to right knee at the wall. So this is just how I like to transition. And then I'll bring my left foot forward. And then again, blocks are really smart for that. Move the weight around, you can get low. Just as you do it, most likely it's getting easier. And that's why you're not just gonna put yourself into splits right away initially, but like I said, over time, then it could be something that you do, like I said, cold, right? So I'm gonna come up into an upright position. My hips are on the inside of my foot, but they could certainly be lined up with my foot. So again, feel what's funky or not right for your knee. And then again, I can pull back. You know, and this is, you know, I don't necessarily have to go back more, but it's a matter of, is my body willing? Is it ready? And that's why it's good to not just be so hung up on like getting it today. You could cross the arms. Most likely the dominant arm will always be on top. So you can bring I always bring my right arm on top, so I'm now bringing my left. And try to keep the belly and the ribs in so that you're getting more organized and you're getting more exposure into the shoulders. Then you can bring the arms down, and then I'm gonna come away, and let's say that was really, really hard for you. Sit on a block, sit like in between your feet, high level, very, very good for the upper body, low level, more like what we were just in. So it's great to sit upright, very good for your breathing, posture, energetically. You will get tired if your posture starts to, it's just inevitable. You start to mouth breathe. So that's why a big part of keeping good posture so that you don't breathe through your mouth, you don't strain your neck, you don't strain your lower back. So I'm gonna take the leg up the wall. So this can be quite difficult. So maybe just watching if you've never seen it before. Right, so I'm gonna take my right leg up the wall. I'm gonna push through my hands. And I say this all the time. So I'm not gonna go as far as I can go initially. I'm just gonna wait and breathe. And then as it gets easier, and then I'm gonna push a bit more. Right, but all this time I'm pushing through my hands. I'm pulling my abdomen and my ribs in, driving down through the left foot. Take 3 deep breaths. And then I'm going to walk the hands forward, and then, it would look different if I was practicing on my own. I probably would do it more or hold it longer, just for the sake of the video. But I'm going to step my right foot forward, and then I'm going to take my left leg up. So start further away from the wall if you don't have a lot of flexibility. And then as you take the left leg up, push through the hands. You can see how I'm moving my right foot back. It doesn't have to be, it could be elevated too. Like your heel could be on some blankets or a bolster. That's really good. And then push through the hands and lift through the left leg and drive through the right foot. So deep, deep breathing. And again, maybe I'm not as far as I can go initially. You could bend the front knee. Really great for your back. And then over time, if you want to put more stress on the hip or the hamstring, then you're working towards getting the legs more straight. So walk it back out. Come back down on the knees. Sit on the feet, right? Take a couple deep breaths here. Again, deep, deep breathing. And then what we're gonna do is a bit of a side bend, just to get more on the side body and a little bit more of a twist. I was thinking about doing the splits with an external weight, but I'm thinking more of a side bend will be better for you. So take the legs out, or take your mat out, just so that you have enough space to sit on, just so that you can take your legs up in a wide position. So if I really struggle in sitting on the floor, these types of positions, I do this more in my level 1 classes, is have the legs in frog and squeeze in. Very good. Sit up against a piece of furniture. So good for your posture and getting you to sit better. You can squeeze in with the legs, and then that'll help with the external of the thighs. So take the legs out in a wide position, and with the legs out wide, if I'm in a posterior tilt, I want to sit on something higher. If it's really hard on my hamstrings, of course you can bend the knees. But just as you're sitting here, move forward, but move more to your left, move more to your right. See where the blocks are, like what's stopping you. You could stay upright the whole time. Again, it can be really, really hard, so you're just breathing really heavily. So I'm gonna go out to the left, and then as I go out to the left, I'm looking forward in space. If I'm gonna twist, I'm gonna take my right hand behind my head. I'm gonna turn. As it gets easier, right? I can reach for the left foot with the right hand. I can grab the right thigh with the left hand, and then you can fit the shoulder further underneath you and more in. And it's kind of tricky because the floor gets in the way to go further. So you might have to get creative and on an elevated platform to really get the shoulder underneath to get further with this. That's something that you aspire to do. So you can push strong through the left foot, turn. Again, just see if you need more effort. More breathing obviously is very, it's just a sure way. You come out of the class and you're like, wow, I feel so good. And a lot of it is just from the heavy breathing. And that can come from any form of training. Take the right arm up and bring yourself back up. I mean, that's why so many people love running. So you can come forward over your right leg, and you can squeeze the legs or push the legs down, or you can lift the legs up. And then as you're down and you're off to the side, you could take the left hand behind the head. With the left hand behind the head, you could lean back in space. And there's a lot of layers to this. So, you'll see over time you'll go further. Now I could reach for the right foot with the left hand. I can reach for my right thigh. If I had leggings on, I'd grab them. Or if I was in jeans or something like that, I'd pull on them. And then that could help get your right shoulder further underneath. And if you go back when I was like, hey, put your hands together and twist, it's really the same position. It's really the same action. So you can lean back in space. And then you can bring yourself back up. And then come up. And then just have the feet together. Have the knees wide. Lift the hips up off the floor. And push the thighs apart. Get a good upright position. And then bring your hips down. And then with your hips down, I'm just going to do one more thing in terms of strengthening your shoulders and your back. And strengthening a little bit through your abdomen. So if you have two blocks, it's easier with blocks. You have shorter arms, the blocks are higher. You have longer arms, the blocks are more flat. So I'm going to push through my hands, and this can be done with a chair, but this is the longer you can, not that it has to be a long hold, but in holding this position, like I said, it's very similar to like a handstand. And modern yoga is greatly influenced by gymnastics. So gymnasts just train this, on rings or whatever, and they're rotating their shoulders out, and that stability is why they can hold their weight so well. They can do incredible things on their hands or on rings or bars, and it comes from that scapula stability. And then just bring the hips down, and then you can interlace the fingers and just move the hands around. I'd say that was heavy on the wrist. The blocks can put the wrist at a different angle too, which can be helpful for the wrist. You might be like, oh, that's why I could do my planks. These blocks are a little big, so you might have to find smaller blocks if that was the case. So just lie back on your back. As you lie back, you can rest. You know, think you can rest your hands on your body. You can have your knees fall in. You can completely relax into a better place. You know, there's a lot of great positions that you could end your class in. Say your back is bothering you. You could have your legs elevated on a piece of furniture. And then if you're on a, you know, an elevated surface, with the legs, really good for the lower back. And I say this all the time, when you lie on your back, you know, some people have like this kind of slouching, right? Then you'd want something underneath your back. That could be a blanket. Some people need something for their neck. I think most people really do need something for their neck. And then when they have it, it's really restorative for other areas of the body. So like if one area is compensating, then the other is getting, you know, stress. And that's a big reason. It's either the neck goes and then the lower back goes, or the feet fail the person and then it's the knees that start to fail you, you know. So it's got to kind of see like what your anatomy is and what your tendencies are, and then you can correct them. So whatever you're in, you can be nice and relaxed and letting go, and you know, maybe you're sitting like I am, but if you are resting, you know, fantastic. But I do know that some people need to go. Yeah. So you know, having your eyes closed, very restful. But let's say you gotta go. We're gonna bring awareness into our hands or feet. You can wiggle your fingers, your toes. You could pull your knees in. You could roll to one side, you could roll up, you can sit up, you can sit nice and tall. So as you sit up, you can have the palms face up. I had a great time today. Really enjoy sharing online with you. Hope you like the class. Again, all my classes are on my YouTube channel. Check it out, subscribe, like it, share it with people because it really helps me and then I can help other people. All right, have a beautiful Friday. Have a wonderful weekend. Maybe I'll see you Saturday or Sunday in class. All right, thanks for the support.
Maybe we'll see you again Sunday. I think that's the last day. The virus is gonna pass.
Maybe it'll pass then. All right.
We're making a food.